is it relevant to you as a brand? And it doesn't necessarily mean that if other people are doing something right now, it will be for you as a brand. So I think just really remembering who you are, first of all.
Welcome to the Mastering E-commerce Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Eitan Koter, co-CEO of WFMA. In an era of rising acquisition costs and increased competition, this podcast is dedicated to helping you drive sales, engage customers, and build meaningful communities so you can turn passive visitors into active buyers. Now let's get started with the episode. Today's guest is Raminta Keršulytė, founder and director of WFMA, a boutique e-commerce marketing agency helping purpose-driven brands scale with smart strategy, creativity, and digital innovation. With over a decade of experience from fashion marketing to cutting-edge e-commerce, Raminta brings a rare blend of brand storytelling, performance marketing, and tech-savvy execution. She's especially passionate about how emerging tools like AI and blockchain are shaping the future of e-commerce. So if you want to know what actually moves the needle in e-commerce and what most brands get wrong, this conversation is for you. Hey, Raminta, how are you? Welcome.
Hi, Eitan. Thanks so much for having me. I'm very well. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you so much. It's a great pleasure to have you here, and we have plenty of things to discuss. But before we dive in, I'd like to ask you about the 3 words that matter most to you and why.
Yeah, sure. So the first word that comes to mind, and this has to do with both work and life, is story. I love stories ever since I was a child. I love reading. I think I learned how to read at like age of 5 or something, just because of that reason. Like I love words, I love stories. We are all as humans kind of programmed to love story, but I think I have a special connection to that word. So that was the first one. And from my childhood, my grandparents from my dad's side, they were both teachers. So my grandma, back in the day, I used to hate it, but my grandma used to sit me down and instead of playing, get me to write, like, I don't know how you call it when you write the story that someone's telling you, basically. And she used to give me those kind of exercises in the summer when everyone was playing hide and seek or something. I was always like, I don't understand why me. But I think she probably saw my connection to that story. And that sort of, that led me to really loving languages and loving the story and being connected to the story, I think, as well. So that's word one. And that's, something that we really care about in the marketing as well. I don't really believe in performance only. I think the brand and the story has to be, in the middle of everything that you do with your marketing, be it performance or brand marketing. So that really ties into, everything in my life, sort of. Another word would be freedom. I love my freedom, and I think that's probably a part of the reason why I'm an entrepreneur. Ever since I started my career, I was mainly a freelancer or contractor, except for a couple of years here and there where someone convinced me to work for them like permanently. But yeah, I've always loved my freedom, and I appreciate it, and I look forward to like doing things like traveling and exploring new places and things like that. And that all ties up to freedom for me. So I'm very happy and lucky to be leading a remote agency where I can actually enjoy my freedom and also do the work. And I find that doing the two together actually works for me better than having one or another. If I don't have my freedom, then at some point I don't get inspired to work anymore as well. And so that's the word number 2. And the third word, I guess, would be openness. Like I'm quite an open person myself, and I really appreciate that in other people as well. And so I look for that in the cultures that I am in, at the time, or the people that I surround myself with. I think at some point of my life, I've learned that there's there's no situation without a way out. If you just think openly, there's always solutions to things and ways to do things. They're not sometimes obvious, but if you keep that mind open, they always come to you. So I think openness would be another word.
Nice, nice. It's in that storytelling, definitely, and openness, or maybe we can call it just maybe empathy as well, right? For the others, it's
Yeah.
very so important for marketing, for any marketer. Right? It's like fundamentals. So how do you implement storytelling in your work? And obviously we have storytelling, which is kind of an art, and maybe there are some mechanics around it, but then you have performance marketing, which is very technical, and there are a lot of things that needs to be implemented. But I mean, marketing job is just this creativity on one side and data-driven operational execution on the other side. How do you combine these two fronts together in the day-to-day job?
Yeah, so I think the importance here is coming back to that brand and like, what are we all about? And if we have that nailed down, the brand strategy is clear, we know who we are as a brand, then it's quite easy to weave that story into anything that may be, even if it's a piece of performance marketing, you can still use the certain topics that are close to the heart of that brand, or certain values, and portray them with different words, and not necessarily talking about things directly, but you can use certain words to sound in one way or another. And I think using just remembering that brand core with everything that you do, doesn't matter if it's performance or more brand piece, is it relevant to you as a brand? And it doesn't necessarily mean that if other people are doing something right now, it will be for you as a brand. So I think just really remembering who you are, first of all. And by saying that, I mean the brand and not necessarily a person. And then just really thinking of how you can bring that out, even in subtle ways, and bring it into your advertising, marketing, campaigns, emails, whatever that may be. So really just going back to the core. I remember we were doing a strategy for one of the brands that we worked with recently, and one of their team members kind of went like, "Oh, are we going back to the basics?" When I started tracking back to the brand story and like values and things like that. And that kind of shocked me, because I was like, how do you think we can create a strategy without going back to those basics and understanding your brand really? Like what would I base it on? So yeah, I think it's going back to the root always, and really understanding what the brand stands for. And if you don't have that work done, then we would always suggest to really go and dig into that, because very hard to make other pieces of marketing work if you don't really know who you are as a brand.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, totally agree. This is why, I mean, authenticity is so important, definitely differentiation. So, how do you see brands standing out, in saturated niche like fashion, beauty? What are some of the best practices that you see?
Yeah, so I think it's nice in a way that the market is so saturated, because it gives you that, when you have restrictions or you have a lot going on, it gives you that creativity boost as well. So I'm thinking now about mainly premium luxury brands. We haven't really been seeing them that much in the beginning of everyone going online. They weren't really embracing the digital. They were kind of, keeping traditional, and not necessarily really putting that much pressure on getting that story out in terms of digital. It was more done through the stores, through that clienteling, storytelling in store. But then COVID came, and I think everything just turned on its head. And what I'm seeing now, and I'm loving it, because that wasn't the case a few years ago, is all the luxury brand going again back to their roots, and really going into those other pieces that are important to them, explaining how they make them, how the process goes, or going back into the brand values and things, and making like cool videos about that. So yeah, I think that's a cool part of the saturated market and like brands really trying to then find their own way of standing up. But at the same time, I also see a lot of brands that just look the same, like the same export from Canva with the same colors and the same fonts. And they do not, I don't think they're doing a good job at differentiating in that market. So, yeah, again, just going back to the root seems to be the answer here in Tokyo in a saturated market, like fashion or beauty is.
You mentioned using the same export for Canva, same fonts and everything. What are other like big mistakes that you see e-commerce brands, make?
The one that we see a lot, especially with the small, medium-sized brands, is that a lot of people are looking to get, let's say, ads running, because they want more revenue, they want more sales, but their conversion on their website is crap. So we can run ads, no problem, but it's going to cost you so much more than if you just picked your conversion in the first place and then started to run ads. But a lot of brands tend to overlook it, or maybe do not know what the industry averages are for their industries. And they usually look for a quick fix in terms of like, oh, we're going to throw some money at Google or Facebook, and that's going to do the job, without actually thinking that, if I just worked for a few months on my conversion instead, then those marketing dollars, euros, pounds would work so much harder for me. So that's the one that comes to mind quickest because I see it quite a bit.
Yes. And what are some of your favorite ways to boost conversion rates?
I love A/B testing in general. I think that's probably one of the main reasons why I love marketing so much as well, is because it kind of changed my perception about failing, in the sense where there's no such thing as a fail. We A/B test things, we learn that something works or something doesn't, and then we move on from there. So A/B testing is something that we love using for when it comes to conversion rate optimization, because then you can really see this version works and this doesn't. A lot of the times with a lot of the brands, we had like website refreshes and things like that, where we're like, oh my God, this is going to be great. Like everyone's going to love it. And then we put it to a test and it's terrible. And you have to redevelop everything again. Like you would think that certain things work, but then your audience tells you exactly how it is for them. And not all of those guesses will be, correct after you test them. So A/B testing is definitely one of the things that I love doing when it comes to a lot of things in marketing, including your e-commerce website. Looking at things like heat maps as well. Where are people getting stuck? What may be the issues? And sometimes just a simple audit is enough to identify what the main issues will be. A lot of the time, it's the lack of content on sites, it's the lack of FAQs, a lot of really simple, low details, but they do matter. And if you don't have those in place, then it's really hard to really move that person from not knowing you as a brand at all to being ready to purchase from you. So it's a mix, I think, depending on the situation. But I would say A/B testing, auditing, and implementing simple fixes for a lot of the brands, such as like shipping options, payment options, and things like that. All these things really tend to help. And sometimes, again, they're overlooked, or they're not considered to be important for some reason, while they actually are, especially for e-commerce.
Yes. I mean, sometimes different things work for different brands, even in the same niche with the same product line, right? Because there's a different customer sentiment is different, life cycles.
Absolutely. And the customers themselves, they might be completely different people. So even though you're in the same niche, you don't have the same customer necessarily as your competitor does. Taking someone's version and just applying it to yourself, like I hate that, because it really doesn't mean that because someone's doing it, that it's going to work for you.
Exactly. This is why experimentation is the best way to go, right? So just don't be afraid to test and kill things that are not working very fast. And it's so easy to sometimes to fall in love with product pages or with some product, right? But need to go. I mean, get to these points with zero emotions, right? Just looking at it like observing what's happening and just move on very fast.
It's hard, because when you work in a brand or on a brand with a brand, when you're in it for so long, you start not seeing things anymore. And you obviously have your own ideas about how things should be and so on. And then I think it starts being quite hard to notice things in the way that your audience sees it, unless you really think about it. Like we always say, let me put my customer hat on and think about this. Like really try to, think how your customer would be thinking. So that's where I think marketing agencies come in as well, because we see it from a side. We haven't been so involved with your brand. We don't have those emotional ties with it. We can see things a little bit clearer from a side. And I think that's a good thing to have. And I think sometimes it's hard to move out of a certain, spot without having those extra pair of eyes that can see it from just without such a deep involvement, I guess. I don't know how to put it better.
Yes. And hey, everything is just getting so complicated and requires different expertise, right? You have so many channels out there from any marketeer, and like every platform is a different community, right? I mean, you have the Facebook, Instagram, Meta, then you have obviously TikTok, Amazon, YouTube, and each one of those platforms is like a different community altogether that requires different expertise. And definitely, this is the role of an agency, just to come here, look at it from no emotional kind of perspective and try to figure out based on data what needs to be done. Raminta, what do you mean by purpose-driven brand?
Yeah, so I'm a big fashion and nature lover, which is kind of contradicting because fashion is probably one of the most polluted industries in the world. As it stands right now, hopefully that's going to change with all the new regulations coming into place, at least here in Europe. But I don't like to sell things just for the sakes of selling, if that makes sense. I wouldn't like to be working with a brand that is maybe, driving loads of sales, but they have no purpose besides making revenue and making profit. I've never looked at brands or companies in that way. And I was lucky enough to work with a lot of brands that have that purpose, that have that reason to exist, and that goes besides just making sales or making product. So that's what I mean by purpose-led, is that we're not only here to sell, we're here to actually make this planet better in some way or make it life easier for our customers in some way. We're not just here to, throw a load of waste on this planet and then forget about it.
I mean, there's like an additional higher cause than the product itself, right? I mean, it's so important. It's one of the key differentiators also for any brands today, just to have that additional layer of, vision and targets on the day-to-day.
I think that also helps you to then create new products, innovate, because if you know your core, then you don't necessarily need to stay in the same sector. You don't need to stay in the same product line. If it still makes sense for you as a brand with your vision that you have, then, you can open up other channels that support that vision. But if you don't have that, then you just become a seller of a product that, someone else can probably sell cheaper. And then you sort of start this going down to the bottom base rather than building it up,
Yes. And I want to talk to you about paid ads and email, like earned versus owned media. And obviously it's very different, the world where the brand is, or if it's just being launched, or it's a kind of a mid-sized company or even an enterprise. But how do you see paid ads these days? I mean, a lot of things are changing, moving just to open targeting. And so what do you see, is getting more traction, is being more effective today? And how can companies balance between, like paid ads and maybe organic content and email marketing? I mean, those multi-channel marketing is so powerful and important that for any brands we know, both for not don't putting too many eggs in the same basket on one side, but also having this diversity of channels is very, very strong for valuation also. So what's your take on those two approaches?
Yeah, so again, depending on where you are as a brand, I think different things will apply. But I think with the smaller brands or those who are just starting and they're just launching, I see the problem of people doing too much at the same time, but not actually anything properly. So I would really decide on a couple of channels if I was just starting out. And then I would say, I'm going to nail these really, really well. And then I'm going to move into the other channels. And then I'm going to nail them one by one. I think that's the best way of going about it when you're just starting off. Because unless you have a, good investment from the get-go and a good team, then you're not going to be able to manage all those channels that you just started creating on. And that's not going to really lead to anything. So I think, yeah, if you're a smaller brand, picking your right channels, but just a couple or maximum 3 in the beginning is going to be your game. And I would try and do that, think about the funnel and think about where I can get brand awareness, maybe cheapest, how can I convert those people? And then how can I make them loyal? Like which 3 channels would be doing which jobs? So I think there's definitely a need of mix of everything these days. But if I'm just starting, I wouldn't try and run after everything because it's not really gonna happen. If you try to cover too many bases at the same time. And for bigger brands, I really think you need to be a multi-channel. Again, you don't have to be on every single platform that's out there. Again, we come back to knowing your audience, knowing where they're at, knowing which channels they're using and being there and meeting them, where they are, because we live in this day where no one's going to go out of their way to really do anything or buy anything. So if you're not meeting people where they are, then you're missing out essentially. So I think there's definitely a place for both. And most of our clients would use both paid and organic efforts to market. But what I see a lot of people doing, and I don't think that's the right thing to do, is blasting all the money again on ads and not really working on the brand. And that can give you some return for some time, but then you're going to run out of those people that are ready to buy right now. And then that's going to be the end of your role. So, yeah, I think for bigger brands, having a mix of channels is definitely a key, but also not doing too much that you can't handle. I think having a mix of organic and paid also gives you a better return than just having one or another. And depending on how well your customers are returning, ads might not be the right thing for you. If you can just make a one-off sale with the product that you sell, for example, and not, that same person won't be buying that product for another year or so, then paid ads as a strategy would be a really expensive thing to run. But for someone like fashion, that's really key because you have collections that come in certain seasons, they need to sell out quite quickly. If you don't run ads and try to run everything on organic, you'd never sell out. So I think it really is dependent again on the brand. But I see all of these things playing in the marketing game, and also taking things offline as well, depending on what kind of brand you are, thinking about events, meeting people, creating communities and things like that. I think everything has a place in today's marketing landscape, depending on what you are as a brand.
Yes. I mean, there are so many technology tools today that you can post like all over, right? But eventually you need to just focus more on that channel that probably represent your ICP, right? And your personas, right? And we know that different generation and different demographics are using different platforms, and it requires certain expertise at some point of time just to zero in and just use the platform in a much more efficient way. Raminta,
Absolutely.
yeah, I know that you also study and you focus a lot on technology and innovation. Obviously, a lot of things are happening with AI, with the blockchain, right? With personalization and automation. What are the things that excites you right now with technology and innovation specifically for e-commerce?
Yeah. So for e-commerce, I can tell you what we use technology most for, and what I'm most excited about is research and data visualization. I think that's where AI is actually really, really useful and can give you a lot of things to think about. What I don't love in terms of AI is the kind of generic copywriting that a lot of people are blasting out of it. I think again, you can get a good piece written if you fed enough into the algorithm. But a lot of people are taking sort of just whatever comes up. And that whatever comes up is usually a fluffy marketing lingo that's not really tailored to your brand or your audience. So I'm more excited in the technology and AI specifically when it comes to research and data than anything else that I've seen it doing so far, at least. And that's where the real power is. I don't think the real power of AI is generating those dull images of you as a doll with your logo.
It's developed very highly sensitive sensors for AI generated content, right? Both written, text based, and also picture based, but also videos now are very, I think, improving a lot, right? In terms of using video generated by AI.
So you know more about the video part
Yes, it's amazing. You can see definitely ads, but also like influencers and UGC content, just avatars holding the actual product and discuss about it and showcase it. So, and we're just at the beginning. So definitely there is a room for that. But I see brands just killing themselves right now with AI generated content. It's really poor quality and it's a mess.
If it doesn't add value, then I don't really see the reason for doing it. Just because everyone's using it is also not a good enough reason for you to use it if you don't know how to use it. I'd rather spend some time on really getting into how we can use it in our, company, and then doing something good with it rather than creating a quick visual that everyone else posted already 3 times. So it's not really value building at it.
Great. Raminta, tell us more about WFMA. Tell us about the agency, what type of service you provide.
Yeah, sure. So actually, we just spoke about the ads. We've cut quite a bit of our ad services out a couple of years ago now, maybe. So we only do ads when it comes to YouTube or Google Ads, basically. And then the rest of what we do is more organic or more retention sort of focus. And also UX and again, conversion optimization. So we don't do acquisition as much in that sense of more like paid ads, but we more focus on your on-site experience, the content overall that you put out as a brand. Doesn't matter which channel. We do content strategy to sort of, have a blueprint of what all of your content is doing, not just specific channel working on its own in a silo. We do quite a bit of organic search and content writing for search, which works really well with a paid search. So that sort of usually comes hand in hand when we work on these kind of projects. And we do a lot of email. We do a lot of email and strategy work for launches or when brands are not sure what's going on anymore, and where to focus and, what should be the next sort of quick wins and things like that. So these are sort of our key channels. We work more with the retention and the optimization and strategy rather than acquisition, I would say.
Yeah. Let's talk about retention because this term is evolving so fast, right? And includes more and more capabilities and functionalities. What do you put under retention? What type of methodologies and practices?
So again, for retention, we use a lot of email automations, looking into the user experience as a whole and the user journey, really looking at every single piece of information or touch point that someone receives after, let's say, they shop with us, and how does that look? Are they getting everything that they need, or is there maybe a spot where a lot of people drop off because they don't receive certain information or certain campaign or something else. So we tend to look a lot at, like on-site and email and thinking about how we can grow that really loyal base as well. So a lot of that is usually done through like loyalty schemes or creating like inner circles within the brands of like best customers and really taking their feedback on board, really engaging with them on a monthly or quarterly basis, really getting that feedback out of your best customers because they really love your brand. And so if we can, find more people like them and understand why they love us so much, then we can really help other people as well to fall in love with a brand. So sort of, it can be a lot of different things, I think, when it comes to retention, but I think the main key topic is always the customer and the feedback. And I think that not enough brands are actually asking for that feedback from their customers. This is a bit of I don't know, I think it's a bit, I don't know how to even call it. Like people are afraid to ask for feedback. It's almost like, oh, we don't want to know what we're doing wrong, June. But instead of like really embracing it and being okay, like, if our best customers are saying this, then we must change it. Because if they don't like it, then probably a lot of people are also not liking it. And if we can change it and make the user experience better, then why wouldn't? So we do a lot of feedback loops in that sense, and we try to really understand what is working, what is not working, and then prioritize from there to make a better experience, essentially.
Yeah. And I know you would like to promote your free content blueprint, right? The 5 steps for creating content that converts. Can you share more details about it? And of course, we will share links in the show notes.
Awesome. Thank you. Yes, absolutely. So it's basically a framework, a simplified framework, which we use when we work on our content strategies in a more expanded way. But it's a simplified framework to really understand what your content is meant to be doing in a different life cycle stages of your customer. And then make sure that you create the correct content so your customers can find all the information that they need to be able to make that sale and not to have to call your customer service maybe to understand something about your brand or product or things like that. So it's basically a 5-step framework to really plan your content with, understanding what each piece of content will be doing in what stage of a buyer's journey, rather than just creating content with no framework on a whim and not really having a goal for it necessarily.
Just throwing spaghetti on the wall, right? And hope for the best.
Basically.
Yeah, okay, great. I'm going to definitely check it out. So, Raminta, how people can find you?
I'm mainly active on LinkedIn, so you can totally find me there. Instagram as well, but probably LinkedIn for the most, business-focused conversations. I'm quite active over there.
Nice. And anything else you want to add?
I would like to ask you a question in terms of video. May I? So tell me, in terms of video, what kind of trends are you seeing right now? What's working? What's not working? Where do you see video going in 2020?
Look, I mean, video just keep growing on so many different categories, right? Influencer marketing is still growing and it's continuing to grow for the next years, right? As we see. It's very, very powerful, much more efficient than paid ads, right? Because the paid ads are getting so expensive and competitive. And if you find a true influencer that has a loyal audience, mostly on the micro influencer side of things, it's a very, very powerful way. And then you can use those videos in terms of if you get the right license from the influencer, you can use those videos on other channels as well. And this is very, very powerful. Live video is also important and growing. There is a special version of video that is shoppable, right? So also the ability to create conversions from video, not just impression or just more brand awareness, but actual conversions through call to actions on the videos that you can implement on your own website, but also on social media. And this is something that we do at Vimy, that you can have one video being distributed to many, many channels and giving the ability for shoppers to create a checkout on almost every platform is something very, very nice. And the same for live shopping as well. So And what's working today is not this highly polished, fully edited videos, right? Short form videos, TikTokification of things, right? Authenticity and consistency, founder-led content, employee-generated content are very, very powerful. Just being authentic, know how to answer questions very, very quickly, less polished, less B-rolls, less overlays, and editing works best.
Very cool. Very interesting. Thanks.
Great, Raminta. Thank you so much. It was very, very interesting. I learned a lot. I wish you all the best.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Thank you for listening to the end of this episode. If you found this episode valuable, please subscribe so you won't miss any of our future content. Explore Vimy, the video commerce platform that includes live shopping, shoppable video, and social commerce capabilities. Visit Vimy at www.vimy.net. We appreciate your support and look forward for bringing you more valuable insight in our next episode.